Hello everyone, this is Agony333, and today we are going to go over the last of the Firefly trilogy, if you'd call it that, 3 from Hell. But first, there was a couple things that I wanted to mention before we actually get kind of into the movie review. One of them being that I was going to discuss something in particular, and that was, I've mentioned in the past couple reviews a character named Captain Spalding, who was played by Sid Haig, which was a fantastic actor. But I was going to wait till this review to mention his passing, sadly. It occurred, I believe, like a week after the release of this film. I had went and seen it in theaters. And, yeah, it shocked me. But, you know, I've seen also, I'm wearing the shirt, by the way, for the Black Dahlia murder. But on my phone, I had also seen how Trevor from the Black Dahlia murder has also passed, which was the lead vocalist. And I absolutely love that band. And I was very lucky and able to actually be able to meet them on the Abysmal tour when their album Abysmal released. And he was just a really awesome dude. The whole band was really awesome, really kind, friendly, hilarious guys and stuff. And so I just wanted to, I guess, mention those things. Condolences to family or, you know, other fans and stuff. Show some kind of support, maybe. I'm probably going to be posting something about it, you know, on my social media stuff. I mean, I don't know, it's just always a shame whenever I see, you know, whenever anybody passes, it's a horrible thing. But whenever it's someone who's providing you with, you know, great, talented work and, you know, music that you're going to be listening to for your lifetime, or movies that you'll be enjoying for your lifetime and stuff like that, it's, you know, yeah, an especially heavy kind of thing. So I thought I would kind of mention those. And yeah, I didn't really expect, obviously, to mention another person passing as well. But yeah, I thought I would just mention those things. Show some support, you know, either maybe consider checking out any of these 3 movies, you know, or other work of Sid Haig as well. And maybe consider even picking up an album from Black Dahlia Murder. I mean, their whole lineup of albums are really terrific, great, wonderful albums, and they were always a great band to see live and stuff, so highly recommend any of those things. But okay, let me try to kind of ease the seriousness just a little bit, and we'll get into this actual proper fucking review, which is 3 from Hell, like I mentioned. Now, one thing that I mentioned before in the prior review was back when House 1000 Corpses and Devil's Rejects was released. For me, the ending of Devil's Rejects, which I may actually, I'm not sure if I'll spoil, I'll try not to spoil, but I felt like the ending that they had there was the best sort of ending for these characters and for the story and everything. And so I had always hoped, if they ever did make a third one, that it would either be a prequel to House of 1000 Corpses, because I mean, there's 1,000 corpses there. How'd they get there? You know, they could easily make other films for that. Or, you know, a kind of in-between House 1000 Corpses and Devil's Rejects. But obviously, upon this one's release, 3 from Hell, I had come to learn, which I'll say now what the synopsis sort of is, that it's actually a sequel to Devil's Rejects. So, in a way, here's one thing I'll say, is obviously I'm going to have to sort of spoil some things. So if you haven't watched either of those, you may want to check those out, check those reviews out before checking this video out. But alright, I'm going to be getting into a summary of the plot, which will sort of spoil the storyline and stuff. So what's this one about? Well, if you've seen the second one, which is Devil's Rejects, you know that there was a huge fucking shootout of epic proportions that basically saw where almost no human being should be able to get out of that alive. Because, I mean, even in the opening of this film, it pretty much says that each person had like 20 bullets riddled in them and stuff, and they're being carted to the hospital, and they were all in critical condition, and there was pretty much no chance they'd survive. But miraculously, you know, the devil must have smiled upon them and allowed them continued life. So yeah, that's basically the story for this, is that pretty much they miraculously survive. They're quickly put into prison, and, you know, basically they end up, it's not too much of a spoiler, because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can sort of see it coming if you read the box, any of that kind of stuff. They basically go about being freed and going back on a rampage, continuing the insanity that the second one started. So, yeah, that's pretty much the story summed up. My version, anyways, probably done way more poorly than the back of the box, but fuck it. Alright, but this is what I'll be getting into, is the initial disappointment. Going back to what I had said about Devil's Rejects. And so the initial disappointment was, when I heard that it was going to be a sequel, to me that sort of immediately, I don't know if I'd say took me out of this experience, but it seemed so unrealistic that I was kind of disappointed. And like I said, at least for me at that time, I had felt like the send-off that was in the Devil's Rejects was the best ending that they could have had. But that was before this released. So then this released, I was still hyped anyways. I was like, you know what, fuck this. Fuck my thoughts, obviously. I may be completely wrong. It's still going to probably be an awesome fucking film. So I went about seeing it. Sadly, the first night of showing, it had sold out. They were giving away these awesome posters too, by the way. It was really cool. So any of you lucky enough to have seen it on the first showing and got a cool poster, it's probably badass. And yeah, awesome shit. But I saw it on the second night, which they had a like an after film kind of making of documentary kind of thing. So I mean, that was still cool. I got to see that instead. So I mean, there was at least something cool about seeing it on the second night of release. But here's what I'll be getting into. Let me see. So yeah, I seen it in theaters, so I kind of rectified my mistake when it came to Devil's Rejects. I was able to actually see this one in theaters, and I'm definitely glad I did. But let me get into other things, because I'm probably going to be needing to get to spoilers pretty quickly to start actually discussing, gripes and things that I liked about this film. And actually, I am beyond fucking stupid, because I didn't even give this movie a rating on paper. The paper's blank on that rating part. And, yeah, the year made and all that shit. So that's the new fuck up. I have the spoilers this time, but the other information isn't there. So I apologize, yes, very thoroughly. I guess this time you may have to look that up on your own if you're interested in those things. Sorry, folks. I can't manage to do things perfectly, ever. Anyways, let me see here. Okay, well, since I mentioned this breakout thing, this is one thing I can mention. It's not really a spoiler because we already know they're in prison, they're going to break out. Upon the first viewing, to be honest with you, the beginning portions in that prison, I didn't really care for, to be honest with you. And I think that was because the surrounding characters involved, it felt, at least for me, a little bit too cheesy and a little bit too wacky, the acting and stuff on this part. So I mean, that's just a preference thing. Other people that you might not even felt that way. You might have loved the movie from beginning to fucking end. But for me, when I sat down there, I was incredibly hyped. I might have set my standards too high just because of how much I love the other ones. And so the prison sequence in the beginning, I was kind of just, I was kind of waiting for them just to get out. I wanted to see more of like what Devil's Rejects had. And for me, I just didn't really care for some of the, like I said, the surrounding characters that were chosen. Like I said, the acting was a little bit cheesy. So, I mean, in a way, it kind of went back to more House, Thousand Corpses, where it wasn't as serious and as well done. But really, it's a small gripe, because after that point, once they are out, I feel like the film incredibly improves. So really, that's one of the only gripes I kind of have about this film. And it's not even much of one, because the second time viewing it for this review, I didn't feel exactly the same way. I mean, it still wasn't the best. Like I said, for me, after they get the release and everything, it gets way better. But, so I mean, it's like a minor fucking thing. But, let me see here. And I've said but how many fucking times now, huh? The sadism is back in full force, I'll say that, but I'll have to leave it for spoilers exactly why. Also, another thing that I was going to elaborate on when it came to Sid Haig was, I believe from what I had read at the time, he wasn't doing good, health-wise. But to me, he's obviously a great actor and he was a really dedicated, awesome guy, because even with the health issues that he was having, he still came back and gave what he could to the role that he had in this film. Sadly, it's not much of a long role, but the fact that he feeling the way he did, still came to the film and still played Captain Spalding again, shows the love and dedication he had to his fans and the people who love his character and love these films and stuff. So I had to also kind of commend and give respect there as well, not just in the opening where I mentioned those things, but I thought I would elaborate on that more so. Actors who do things like that are really commendable, in my opinion. So, let me go into other things. But what I was going to say is what we have here is Richard Brake, which plays Doomhead in 31, which 31 I thought was a great fucking awesome movie. Some people didn't really care for it from what I talked, who I talked to and stuff, but I personally really liked 31, and that was mainly due to Richard Brake, that actor playing Doomhead. I feel like that was another one of those roles that, like, that actor kind of made that film. And so I have to say that choosing him as kind of the new successor to this like trio, Otis and Baby, and then now we have Winslow's his name, the Midnight Wolfman, I believe is what they call him, was a great choice. I mean, I couldn't have thought probably of any other, person to try something like that with. So that also goes back to what I said last review, that Rob Zombie knows when it comes to choosing a great actor and stuff like that. He always does well at that kind of thing. So let me see here. I'm trying to think if I can mention this before spoilers or not. Son of a bitch. But like I said, I feel like the second time viewing this movie, I think I liked it better than the first time. And I even felt that way even in the theater when I was watching it. Like after the whole initial moments that were kind of disappointing for me, I was like, I probably need to watch this a second time. I knew that immediately and told myself that, like, I need to probably watch this a second time before I review it or anything like that, just to, make sure of some things. And sometimes that's just how it is when it comes to music, movies, anything. Sometimes you do have to listen to a CD a second time to really understand, get it, enjoy it more. Same for a movie, other stuff like that. And so I'm glad that I did that. But here's another thing that I'll mention that's, I guess, not much spoiler worthy. And that is, I mentioned last time, the thing that I liked about Devil's Rejects was the kind of outlaw feel, the rampaging in the countryside kind of thing. And I feel like this one obviously carries that over. But I like how it kind of leans more into the Western sort of feel, because much later on into the film and stuff like that. So, I mean, it kind of has that element as well, and it kind of leans a little bit even more into that, which I kind of like. And also there's another character, I believe his name is Aquarius, something like that. And he's a badass actor from Sons of Anarchy, and I think he's in, I'm trying to think what the hell the other show is. I should have wrote that down. But, the Mayans and stuff like that. Really awesome actor, too, by the way. So, I mean, there's other really great actors that Rob Zombie chose to have in this. Like I said, he chooses great fucking actors. And I believe that may be all the things that I can really get into when it comes to before spoilers and stuff. And so what I was going to do was I believe I gave House 1,000 Corpses a 7.5, kind of heading towards 8 and stuff like that. And then I gave Devil's Rejects a 10. So what I was going to do with this was kind of in the middle ground, because that's kind of how I feel like it is. So for me, this was kind of like an 8.5, maybe kind of heading towards 9 in a way. And the reason for that, and also the reason why this wasn't disappointing for me, and it kind of changed my mind after at least the beginning portion, is I feel like it was a good move because it was just awesome to see these characters back again. And so in a way, I sort of felt wrong also. While I felt like the end for Devil's Rejects was one of the best endings that they could have gave, in a way it was awesome to see these characters continue on as well. We wouldn't have even had this film. And this is a great, awesome fucking film. And at least I personally think that I like this one better than House 1,000 Corpses. So there you go. My rating was going to be, like I said, 8.5, maybe heading towards 9. It's a really awesome film. It's just, for me, I think I'll always like Devil's Rejects the best, just due to the acting, the music choices, the shots, the memorable dialogue and moments and stuff like that. To me, Devil's Rejects is very difficult to top. So there's that. But I think that's all I have to get to in reviews. I mean, not reviews. Before fucking spoilers. Shit. So, for any of you who don't want to hear, more spoilers than I probably already gave for this, series, Firefly Trilogy, peace. And for anybody else who actually wants to hear, you know, a little bit more in-depth thoughts on anything in this film, let's get into this shit. So I mentioned the not caring for the prison sequence and all that. I mean, some of the old footage and stuff was pretty cool. You know, the different takes that people had. You know, the dialogue that Otis said. I mean, there were certain moments that I did think were cool. It was just, like I said, I think for me, it was some of the, you know, I think Greta was her name, one of the prison guards, you know, as well as the warden and stuff. Certain people, it felt a little too cheesy for me. And so it was that coupled with the fact that I was just waiting for them to break the fuck out. I wanted to see them go fucking crazy again, like in Devil's Rejects. So it kind of felt like I was just sitting there kind of waiting and kind of just, okay, come on, you know, I don't, you know, want to hear these fucking characters and whatever else. You know, I was interested to hear what the, you know, the three from hell have to say and have. You know, those moments were cool. But for me, and maybe that's just impatience on my own part. And like I said, after viewing it a second time, I didn't really feel that same way. I'm kind of giving you what my thoughts were in the theater when I was sitting there. So there was that. And I feel like for the little bit that Sid Haig was in this film, he did a great job, even though it was very short. And that's also, you know, what I'll say is that, you know, I was disappointed at the, you know, only the little bit that he was in, but I understand that when after I had read that, you know, how his health was and other stuff. And it was still, like I said, commendable and really awesome of him to, because I don't know about you, but if I was feeling that badly, you know, and there's a lot of other people who probably, if they were feeling that badly, I don't know if they would have been able to do that or wanted to do that. So for him to have chosen to do that was a really awesome thing and, you know, garners respect in my opinion. But let me see here. And I mentioned how it approves upon them breaking out. And I'd also further elaborate that I feel like once they arrive at the warden's home, you know, once Otis and that Midnight Wolf man, the Winslow, once they arrive at the warden's home and then they go about breaking out Baby and stuff, that's when the film, to me, starts to pick up. From that point on is when, you know, in a way it sort of really begins, at least for me. So let me get into other things. Okay, I mentioned the sadism's back in full force because holy shit, the whole moment with the ashes and stuff is just, it's fucking crazy, obviously. But here's one thing that I thought was interesting when we were kind of trying to discuss and in a way analyze the characters and stuff. You know, later on in the movie, and this kind of makes it more apparent, you know, you can kind of tell that Baby has sort of become worse because of prison in a way. That she's more so unhinged than she ever has been. And even later on in the movie, Otis even mentions that as well. But that this was what I thought was interesting is during the chase outside the house when they're at the warden's home, at least to me, it's like you really get the sense that Baby was playing with her victims. You know, it's not just, you know, killing them. And I mean, you've seen that kind of, I guess, in the other films as well. But more so this, you see her more unhinged. And more so kind of toying and playing with them and kind of completely out of it in her own fucking world entirely. And, I mean, even the sirens, for instance, you know, when they're at the warden's home and everything is said and done, you know, she's not even concerned on getting the hell out of there. She's just kind of still off in her own world, and Otis has to snap her the fuck out of it and get them the hell out of there and stuff. So, I mean, there's that as well, which I find interesting. Let me see. Oh, here is another thing I was going to say. Is when they, later on, like I said, it kind of leans more to the Western thing because they go to Mexico and stuff. And I was going to say that the guy that runs the fucking hotel there totally reminds me of Dale from King of the Hill with his fucking talk and shit. I thought that was great and hilarious and stuff. And then I put here that Baby plus Bo equals fucking badass because I love that addition. That was a really awesome addition too. And then let me see. Okay. And I just love the whole segment in Mexico. I thought was really well done. It was really cool. Like the target practice scene was badass to see Baby whoop their ass and prove them wrong and stuff. As well as, you know, the moments where like Otis had the machete fight and shit. Like all those things were really cool. And here's, I guess, maybe my last note to really say. There's, I guess, not too much to really talk about. But I feel like this is a situation almost similar to how Sinister 2 was. What I mean by that is if you recall And this is kind of spoiling those, so you may want to turn this off if you don't want spoilers for Sinister 1 and 2. But I'm using those as examples. And this is what I'll say. In Sinister 1, the family lost and they fucking died. So when Sinister 2 happened, there was a heightened level of tension and intensity due to that, because you didn't know. It made things less certain if the next family and the next people were going to make it because of the first ones dying. And I feel like, in a sense, that, also helped when it comes to Devil's Rejects, because in Devil's Rejects, we saw them die and we thought that was the end. So in a way, when it came to the ending of this, where, their lives were on the line, to me, there was an extra heightened level of intensity and tension here as well, because, yeah, you didn't know if, okay, well, are they going to die for sure this time? Or are they going to make it out? So I feel like that was a good kind of thing, and in a way how that kind of helped it out. Like I said, the Sinister situation with Sinister 1 and 2, that added to the level there when it came to the fights and other stuff like that. But okay, let me see if there's any more things there. But I think I may have actually covered everything. Overall, really awesome. Really great. Like I said, once they break out and stuff, it's like a cool, badass continuation of at least what I loved from Devil's Rejects. And so it delivered and everything else. But yeah, I think that's all that I've got to fucking say. So, like I also mentioned, maybe give some support to Sid Haig, some of his roles, check some of his things out, as well as, Trevor and the Black Dahlia murder and stuff. Show respect for, the actors and the people who, dedicate their lives to giving us something to enjoy and something to look forward to, whether it be music, whether it be movies, or, even other, avenues of art and stuff like that. But I hope that you all have a great, wonderful, amazing, awesome day. And this is Agony333, and I'm signing out. Peace, guys. Have a great one.